In this video, I'm going to provide step-by-step instructions on how to file an extension for your individual tax return. I'm also going to tell you why you might want to file an extension even if you don't need one. Specifically, I'm going to cover how to file an extension by mail while also making a payment, how to file an extension by mail without making a payment because the process is slightly different, and filing the extension electronically, which is way easier, but for some reason, no one's out there really talking about it. I'll show you how to do that too. And along the way, I'll give you some tips and tricks on how to avoid mistakes and therefore reduce your penalties. But before we dive in, let me quickly introduce myself if it's your first time here. My name is Navi Miraj. I'm a CPA that helps entrepreneurs save thousands of dollars in taxes. I do that by creating free content here on social media, but I also do that through a course where I explain taxes and tax strategies in a simple, easy to understand way. There are many other resources on my website as well, so if you want to check those out, visit my website. It's navimirajcpa.com. Okay, so you might be thinking, the only reason to file an extension is because you're just not ready to file your tax return. And although that is a great reason, I did recently create a video on 5 reasons why you should file an extension even if you don't need to, and you can check that video out after watching this one. Real quick though, some of those reasons are to reduce the chances of getting an audit, provide more time to implement, last minute tax strategies. Number 3, it's free and the IRS actually recommends it to avoid errors. And it's errors, remember, which are what lead to audits and receiving inquiry letters. The 4th one is your tax professional will love you, which is, obviously the most important reason. And if you don't have a tax professional, an extension can even give you more time to go find one. And the last reason is it can be a strategy as it relates to lending. For example, if you had 2 years of higher and higher income, and this year your income is lower, you might want to file an extension and let your lender calculate your debt to income ratio using the old higher income numbers. Anyway, that's just a little strategy there for you. So back to the topic of this video. So there are 2 ways to file an extension. The old-fashioned way, which includes mailing the application and sending in a check, or you can do it the new age way, right? By doing it online. I am going to show you how to do both, but quite honestly, just do it electronically. I don't think most people know that you can do it electronically without tax software, so they file it by mail instead. And that's a traditional way of doing this. So let's cover that traditional way first, filing a paper extension in the mail. We're going to start off by doing a Google search for Form 4868. And I'm going to click on the second result here, which is about Form 4868. Once you click here, you should arrive on this webpage. And then you can click on this link to pull up the form. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll provide the descriptions below. Now on top of this form, we're going to go over this step by step. On top of the form, it tells you that there are 3 ways to file an extension. You can, A, file a paper form. That's the 4868. We'll cover that here. B, pay electronically. We'll also cover that. Or C, through tax software or through a tax professional, which we won't be covering because if you're using a tax software or a tax professional, they should be doing this for you, right? All right, so let's jump into the step-by-step instructions on how to complete this form. So up at the top, you are not going to put dates here. That's this section here. You're not going to put any dates here. It would be extremely uncommon for you as an individual to have a tax year that is not a calendar year. If you read this carefully, it says for calendar year 2022. And then if you read on further, it says or other tax year. So you don't have an other tax year, so leave that part blank, okay? In part 1 of this form, you're going to be entering in the identification related information. So in number 1 here, you're writing your name, right? You're going to write your name as on record with the IRS here. And if your filing status is single, married filing separately, or head of household, in other words, if it's just you, you're going to just put your name. If you're filing as married filing jointly, then be sure to add whomever is listed first on the tax return here, and then whomever is listed second on the joint return here as well. So in my example, I have John Doe and Jane Doe listed. You're going to then enter your address that the IRS has on file. If your name or address has since changed in the prior year, you're going to view the instructions, okay? Please see the instructions. It will tell you exactly what you need to do. The instructions are located on this very same form down below. Let me maybe show you that real quick to show you if you scroll down far enough, you'll see about identification, and it'll talk about mailing the form off, all right? But let's go back to this area here where it's probably gonna trip you up the most. Moving on to number 2, you're gonna enter the first person's social security number. And then again, if filing jointly, enter the social security number of the spouse in number 3. Okay, that's the easy part. Part 2, individual income tax. This is the part that you can it could probably trip you up a little bit. So I'll spend a few minutes here. In number 4, you're entering what you estimate your tax liability is for the year. You're filing, the year you're filing the return for, right? So now typically you don't know exactly what it is. Otherwise, you would be filing your actual return instead of an extension. So you're going to actually make an educated guess here. If you're working with a tax professional, they can give you a ballpark figure. If you're not working with a tax professional, then you can use an online tool to help you with that estimate. So for example, nerdwallet.com, let me show you that. They have a pretty decent one, so you can use it. Here's what it looks like. And I'll sort of leave this in description if you're watching on YouTube below, as well if you want to end up using it yourself, okay? So you can see I just kind of entered in some numbers to mirror what my example was going to be, which was getting us to that sort of estimate of $10,000 in taxes owed. You'll see how that plays out here in just a moment. So in number 5, you're going to enter any 2022 tax payments you made. So if you or your spouse had a job in which you received a W-2, you'll just enter the federal income tax withheld from those W-2s. You'll do that obviously here within this field number 5. Also, if you've made any other quarterly estimated federal income tax payments, you'll add those amounts of the taxes withheld from the W-2 and enter that value here. In number 6, this is just math, right? It's the value in number 4 minus the value in number 5 to arrive at your estimated balance due. In number 7, it says the amount you're paying. Now, you can put a 0 here if you can't pay. That is allowed. Alternatively, you can put an amount that is less than the balance due. That is allowed as well. If you have the funds to pay it all, then even better, do that. Paying something is better than paying nothing, as it will reduce the penalty related to paying your taxes. Now, I think it's important to make a distinction here for just a quick moment. In case you didn't know, by completing this form, you are filing for an extension to file, not an extension to pay. That said, the penalty to file your tax return is much greater than the penalty for not paying your taxes. So it is actually much more important to file your returns or this extension timely than to pay your taxes timely, right? It's better to file your extension or your tax return timely than actually pay your taxes timely, because the penalty is a lot less for filing on time as opposed to paying on time. So you can see that here in the instructions on page 2. The late payment penalty is less than the late filing penalty. Now, if you're sending in a payment, you must do so with a check or money order. You can see that in the how to make a payment section here below. Here, you can see it here. And you'll make your check payable to United States Treasury, not the IRS. Also, and this is critical, the address of where to send the form is different depending on if you are submitting a payment or not. Be sure that you review the instructions in the section entitled Where to File a Form, the paper form 4868. Okay, you can see the addresses are different. I highlighted that if you're making a payment or if you're not making a payment. All right, so let's talk about how to send this form. My recommendation would be to send it via USPS, that's United States Postal Service. I would also highly recommend using certified mail, so you have your tracking number and a receipt. If the IRS claims that they never received your extension, which happens all the time, a lot more than you might think, if you're able to produce your certified mail receipt, they will accept it, the IRS, they'll accept it and get rid of those late filing penalties. If you choose to file it via UPS or FedEx or DHL, then be sure to use the correct mailing address, as it is different than these mailing addresses you see here. The mailing addresses for what's called private delivery services is different than the mailing address when using, USPS. Okay, so if you made it this far into the video, congratulations. I appreciate you so much. Let me show you how to file an extension the easy way, okay? We're gonna go to this website, which is irs.gov/payments/direct pay. I know that's a mouthful. I'll leave that in the description below as well. So let me show you that website. So you'll visit it here. Again, link will be in the description below. And we are then gonna click on make a payment. And from here, once you click here, this screen will pull up, and you're gonna select the reason here for the payment, which will be extension. Okay. You'll notice if you select extension, the apply payment to field is automatically completed for you, which is to apply the payment to Form 4868. Also, the tax period for payment field is automatically completed for you as well. So you'll hit continue on this. It will ask you to confirm. You'll then verify your identity on the next screen. And then after you do that, you'll click continue again. And from there, it will ask you about payment information. And once you enter in your payment information, you'll be able to submit. Now, that's way easier than filing out the paper form and going to the post office and doing all that stuff, getting the certified receipt and all that nonsense. So by making this electronic payment, you are actually filing an extension as well. And if you don't believe me, because this is kind of rare, a lot of people don't do this, it's right here on the IRS website. And I'll even quote it for you. If you complete the process successfully, your payment will be credited towards the tax year for which you are requesting a filing extension. And you will automatically receive the extension. You will not need to file a separate Form 4868 extension of time to file your tax return. You can verify your extension by logging into your account. So here's a tip for you. If you can't pay your full balance due, just pay $5 as your online payment. And this is a much easier route than going the paper method, right? Okay, so all right, well, if you enjoyed this video, that's about all I've got for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the course or in the next video. You should see the video I mentioned about 5 reasons to file an extension, so maybe give that a watch next. And if you need to try and estimate how much tax you owe, try this video that discusses the tax differences between different business entities. As using the online calculator I mentioned before on NerdWallet, that doesn't really work that well for businesses because it doesn't take into consideration the QBI deduction. All right, thanks so much for watching. And like I said, hope to see you in the course or in the next video.